What is going on, shrimp keepers? This is Rob with flipaquatics.com, and today we are doing coffee with Flip. This is episode 3. Let me tell you, I need some coffee today. Yep, I needed that. Before we get into the episode, I did want to show this is the type of coffee somebody was asking in chat. Let me pull up chat real quick. Someone was asking in chat what type of coffee we use, and this is Nescafe, and it's Taster's Choice. This is actually the light, between light and medium. I actually like the dark roast now, but you got to finish it. So love this stuff. I fill this baby up every morning. It's a bad morning, which today might be a little bit of a stressful morning. I'll drink 2 of these. I believe this is the equivalent of 6 cups, something like that. I don't know. I already feel better. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. Last week, episode 2, we talked about a bunch of things. It was actually weird. If you guys didn't know this, episode 2, every other week, we'll do a live stream with members only. And then that gives members a chance to ask questions and things like that. But when you only have 10, 15 people in chat, it's a little hard to keep the conversation going. And a lot of people are just there to listen and hang out. They're not really asking questions. So it was interesting. But what we ended up doing is we talked about all the Brightwell products. We talked about some of the feedback that's been coming in about them and a lot of stuff. So it was a good conversation. We got a lot done. But it sparked the question, which I can actually pull it up real quick. It sparked the question of, how do you remineralize tanks and why? And does it work? Is it worth it? All these questions that so many people have. And so today we are going to talk about remineralizing a shrimp tank. So let me pull it up. I want to give credit where credit is due. And that credit goes to, of course I can't pull it up this way. So you're going to have to wait another second. But yeah, so one of the members actually brought up the idea of doing this topic, and I really appreciate it. And so that's who I'm trying to find. But big shout out to everyone in chat right now. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live stream. I don't know why I can't find it, but somebody brought the question up, and I'm really bummed that I can't find it. This new, FYI, if you're a YouTube creator, this new studio that they have, it's really great for analytics, but it is terrible for navigation. Like, extremely terrible. Totally off topic. I need some more coffee. I might be a little grouchy today. I don't know. So, oh, there it is. Found it. I went to the old one. All right, so credit where credit is due. Let's see. Drum roll, please. Gotta give credit to Brian Hartmetz. He's the one that suggested. He actually gave me 4 suggestions. So thank you to him. And so today we're talking about remineralization of shrimp tanks, why it's important, how to do it, what remineralizer to use, all the details, everything you need to know because Brian brought it up. So let me go through and give a shout out to everyone here. First of all, Ricky Romero. Sorry about your shrimp. Love to help you. Send me an email. We'll work through it. We'll figure out what's going on. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we will just make sure you are a successful shrimp keeper. Christopher Burrell. I like saying Burrell. BRL probably. Say good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everybody. It is Wednesday, which is a glorious day because we're halfway through the week. I still have a lot to do, so I'm hoping the week slows down. But I'm sure a lot of you that worked at 9-to-5 job can't wait for this week to be over. The coffee of choice, we already talked about that. Christopher is going to send me a Pete's Coffee Care Package. I will take it. I love me some coffee. Daryl Deemer in the house says his mono shrimp are doing great. Random Robert says, what's up, Rob? What's up, Robert? Tristan's Aquariums. A lot of people in the house. So thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in early and keeping the conversation going. And we just got a new member. Let's see. Daryl Deemer becoming a member. Daryl, thank you so much for joining the team. We really do appreciate it. And we can get to what it means to be a channel member at the end of the stream. But for now, I just want to focus in on our topic and also give a shout out to everyone in the house. Mitchell42, Sunny Gem, Gregory Faubert. A lot of people. He said, my keto bulletproof coffee. Isn't that the coffee with butter? That's crazy. I'll have to try it. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. We'll try some different types of coffee. Torgo also is a Taster's Choice instant coffee drinker. That is awesome. We got River Life in the house. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are going to have a fun morning. Well, let's get right into it. Now, a month ago, I did a video on the Brightwell products that we were giving away a complete set of these. So I am going to announce who won that set here in just a little bit. But I even have notes on what we're going to talk about today so I stay on topic. I know, surprise, surprise, we are going to have a great episode today of Coffee with Flip. So the first question is, why should you remineralize your shrimp tank? That is the question. If your water test perfect, if you have a perfect GH and KH, which if you don't know what those things are, that's okay. We are going to get to it. But why should you remineralize your shrimp tank? And the question or the answer is to start with a perfect canvas. It's like if you're going to draw a painting, you're not going to just pick up a random old painting and start painting over it. No, you want to start with a blank canvas that you know is perfect. It's the right size. It's the right dimensions. Everything's good. And that's how you start off your shrimp tank. Get a little bit more coffee. So remineralizing your shrimp tank is to ensure that you have the perfect start. And the perfect start to a tank, oh man, it's been a long morning, people. Let's see chat real quick. I need to get on a different train of thought. David Tensfeld did a $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate that. Let me tell you guys, I need to be honest with you. It has been a absolute stressful couple of days, like super stressful. We've had a million things going on, tons and tons of stuff. It has been absolute crazy. So, lack of sleep, lack of everything, but it's all good. I don't know why I'm doing this. Do you believe that I'm actually nervous right now? All the times that we've been live on here, I'm nervous. I'm actually out of breath. You believe that? I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I'm getting stressed right now. I think it's just been that long of a week. Has anybody had that kind of week? We've done this a million times. Literally a million times. And I get stressed. I don't know why. Ollie Taylor, my brother from another mother in the house. Ollie, shout out to you. Dude, Ollie said, dude, if stuff's hitting the fan, reach out to some family. We are here for you. Yeah, honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting stressed, people. And I don't know why I'm getting nervous. I know, it's funny. It is funny. Like, we're just sitting here having morning coffee, something we've done a million times. Morning jitters. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. Too much coffee. It's possible. Shrimping with Jen says, praying for me. Thank you, Jen. That's so funny. Well, I actually am awake for this. It's before 9 on my days off. Breaking. Thank you so much. Just need more coffee. Don't be nervous or stressed. We are here for you. I'm Rugby World Cup, and it's 110 stressful. Deep breath. Yeah, honestly, I've never had a moment on a live stream where, like, I got stressed out. Yeah, it's crazy. Yes, I've had that kind of week. LOL, you are good, Rob. No stress. Yeah, I don't know what just happened to me. I really don't. Now, I will say I'll just sidetrack for a little bit and tell you guys some background. So I used to preach for a youth group. I was an assistant youth pastor, and there was this time, literally, there was this time where I'm up on stage. It's the first like full 30, 40 minute, 30, 40 minute, what do you call it, sermon that I gave. And I'm sitting up there and like, I have no problem talking to people, like no problem at all. And I'm literally standing up there delivering my message. And I started thinking in my head, I was like, man, it would be absolutely terrible if I forgot what I was going to say. Like absolute terrible. And in that moment, as soon as I thought that, I was like, boom, I forgot what I was going to say. And I just froze because like, I'm literally up there for 40 minutes. Like there's no turning back. I can't just like walk off the stage and like not have a conversation and like teach a sermon. And at that point, like I didn't have notes. I had nothing. Like I was just so used to just flowing. So like, I just like paused. I walked over to the podium. I started looking at my message notes that were like completely disorganized in no order, like no flow whatsoever, and just need to like find like a note that gets me back on point. And it was the most terrifying experience ever. And from that point on, literally for like, I don't know, a year, like this was like 3 years ago, maybe for like a year, like I was like literally petrified to like go in front of like people and give a talk because I thought it was going to happen again. Like, you know, like when your inners, like you just like freeze inside, like that's what happened. And it was horrible. And it happened like 4 or 5 times after. And I truly believe it's the devil like trying to attack you. Like, I feel like I'm very good at public speaking. I'm very good at like talking to you guys. Like right now, talking in front of a camera, like I'm good at this stuff. And I feel like little things slip up in your life to try to make you stumble or try to keep you from doing something that you're doing. And I feel like that's what happened today. So I'm literally sitting here having a conversation with you guys. And I look down and I start thinking, man, it would be crazy if I just forgot what I was going to say in this moment. And as soon as I thought that, like it started happening. And I'm just like, boom, I just have to like take a second and breathe. And it sucks. Like in that moment, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? Do I turn off the stream? Do I stop? And it's just like, dude, it sucks. Like, honestly, like in life, I feel like there are, even if you don't believe in God and the devil and all that stuff, I feel like there are things in life that happen that prevent you from doing things that you're called to do because whatever you're doing is most likely good and it's leading to a good place. And so I feel like that's what happens. And it sucks when it does happen, obviously. Rico's Aquarium's in the house, giving a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He said it happens to the best of us. New member, Florenti Songco. Thank you so much. But yeah, so like that stuff does happen. And it's just like you just have to push through it. And I appreciate you guys, pushing the support back to me. And I really do appreciate that. So I know we got off topic, but it happens. I didn't mean for that to happen. But let's get into the topic at hand. Rocky Theo dropping a $4.99, $5 super chat. Flip Aquatics have the best shrimp tips. Thank you so much. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for hanging through that little mix up and hearing a little bit about my story and everything like that. But yes, so much love to you guys. Thank you. But let's actually let's try getting into this again. Remineralizing a shrimp tank. So again, the reason you remineralize a shrimp tank is you want to start with a blank canvas. The truth is you can test GHKH, all those things we'll get into again, but you really want to start with a blank canvas. So starting with RO water, DI water, distilled water, that is starting from ground zero. You know there's nothing toxic in there. The truth is we can only test for certain things, or we only have the ability, the know-how, the easy access to test for just basic things like ammonia, nitrate, GHKH, all those things. We don't have the ability to test for chemicals that your water company could be putting in or pesticides that could be leaching into your well water. Like all these things, we're not able to like go in there and be like, oh, this is what's in my water. This is why things are dying. So the easiest thing to do is start off with RO water, ROD water, DI water, distilled water, just a blank canvas, and remineralize the water to make it perfect for your shrimp. So is remineralizing your water important? Absolutely it is. 1000%. It is so important. And there's so much that goes into it and why it's so important. And we'll get into all that today. But if I'm going to sit here and talk to anyone and recommend shrimp keeping, I want to tell you today that you should remineralize your tank because you are starting off on the right foot. You have a blank canvas. You have the perfect dimensions. Everything's ready for you to paint the perfect painting, but we're doing a shrimp tank here. So we're starting off very, very perfect. We don't want to have any risk for anything to go wrong. So boom, remineralize your water. The next question is, what is GH and KH? GH and KH are the two most important things that we need to measure. TDS is another one. And those three measurements are the three things that you need to know when remineralize your tank. So the first thing, GH, stands for general hardness. This is basically just how hard your water is. KH stands for carbonate hardness. Now the thing with KH is how you determine pH. So a KH of 0, so a 0 carbonate hardness, means that you have the ability to fluctuate your pH any way you want it. And so also KH is how most bacteria in the tank gets cycled. So like if you're cycling a tank and you don't have any KH, it's going to be really, really hard to cycle your tank. And the last thing is TDS, which stands for total dissolved solids. The only time that I use TDS, the only time is when remineralizing a tank. So know that going forward, TDS is only important when remineralizing a tank. Coffee break. Thank you, MY Yagi 570 for becoming a new member. Really do appreciate that. And really do appreciate all of you guys. So we know why to remineralize a tank. We know what the three basic acronyms stand for, I guess. And the next thing is, what is RO water? What is RODI water? What is distilled water? What can you use? Here's the thing. You want to use something, a water that has a TDS of 0 to 10. Anything under 10 is usually pretty good. Anything over 10, you start running into the risk area. So a lot of people will go to their local fish store. They'll buy RO water. They'll get it home, and it's like 400 TDS. That is not okay. That is not RO water. So RO water is reverse osmosis, which means that it's stripping everything out of the water. It's basically just making it pure water with no minerals in it, no nothing in it. And then we have to add those minerals back in. And so RODI water, like somebody asked earlier about what's the difference between like an RO unit under your sink, an RODI unit, like they're all the same. The thing, or the DI, I guess, stands for deionization, which is basically just extra filtration, in my opinion. I honestly, I really don't know. I know I have a DI unit just because they said it makes better water, and it extends the life of the RO membrane. That's what they told me. So that's why I got it. But RODI water basically is just reverse osmosis water, which means it strips everything out of the water. So it has a TDS, a total dissolved solid of 0. And so distilled water is the same exact thing. It's just made a different way. I think it's made through evaporation maybe. And so still has a TDS of 0. So you want to stay to things that have a TDS of 0. That's how we're going to get the good building blocks here. And so once you decide on your water, once you decide on what you're going to use, you want to make sure you have a TDS pen. We actually use TDS EZ. I don't know if I have one in here. I do. I'm prepared. Look at that. This is what we use. You can get it on Amazon. I believe it's under $20. You can buy calibration TDS stuff. So it's like, I don't know what it's called to be exact, but it's calibration liquid solution for these TDS pens. So you buy this on Amazon, you buy the calibration liquid. Usually it's like 250 TDS. So you literally just place this in the solution and it will say like, oh, it's 260. And then there's a little dial on the back that you use a small screwdriver and dial it to 250 TDS. And then this is calibrated. And so you want to make sure you calibrate these. If you don't calibrate them, like it's still going to give you a fairly accurate reading, but it's always good to calculate these. So get one of these first, test your distilled water, test your RODI water, RO water, whatever it is, make sure the TDS is under 10, and then we're off to the next step. The next step is choosing your remineralizer. Now there's different remineralizers for different types of shrimp, but I'll show you what we have for now. Salty Shrimp is the brand that I recommend. It's what we use in our warehouse. It's Shrimp Mineral GH and KH Plus. Next one is B shrimp, again by Salty Shrimp, and it's just GH plus. This one only has general hardness in it, which is GH, and this one has general hardness and carbonate hardness, which is GH and KH. And then there's also the liquid version, which this is by Brightwall. It's called Caridina GH plus, and this one's Neo Tiger KH and GH plus. So let me start off first by explaining the difference between liquid and salt. So this is salt. It's just a powder. You're getting more bang for your buck when you buy salt, just because you're not paying for the water volume. But it comes at a cost. And I know I said this wrong in the past, but I've done some research since then. I've done some testing. I've talked to some professionals. The thing about salt is it's a lot harder when they're mixing salt to make it accurate every single time. Like you can only mix it so much. You can only ensure that there's a perfect balance, like make sure every pellet is ground down to the same granule so that it can mix effectively. We've been using this for, oh my gosh, 6-7 years before I even had a business. And so I stand behind this one because I've used it for so long. But again, it's not always completely accurate. Maybe the top's more concentrated than the bottom. And so we'll get into adding it to your tank and all that later, and explaining, how you make sure you have the perfect measurements and all that. Now with liquid is so much easier to make exact. Like once you get a liquid stirred up, like the whole batch is reading the same. So all you have to do is test one part of the batch and you're good to go. So liquid is more, what's the correct word? Dependable. So like liquid, as long as they're making it and testing it, like every batch of liquid is going to be the same. So 1 pump per 10 gallons, that's the exact measurement, and you can test it, but this is going to be more accurate than the other one, than salt, just because it's a liquid. So liquid's more accurate, but you are paying for the water weight. So it is a little bit more expensive. Make sure you shake it real well beforehand. So there's liquids and then there's salts. I prefer salts just because it's more cost effective. And so how do you actually add it in? How do you choose which one you're going to use? And it's usually pretty easy. Let's start with the common thing. Neo Caridina, cherry shrimp, all the basic. We're going to start there. But before we do, I want to make sure there aren't any questions in chat of people. Those voice cracks though. Yeah. So I might have a couple voice cracks. I don't know. It's, puberty. But let's go through. Let's make sure there's not any. Let's make sure there's not any question. Sunny Gem actually asked a really good question. What about pH in TDS though? So pH means nothing. Now it does mean something when you're adding it into the tank and everything like that. But when you're working with distilled water, RO water, RODI water, let me tell you, pH means absolutely nothing. We never measure it. We never worry about it. We don't do anything with pH. It is a waste of time because what's in the water is what will determine the pH. So like, let's say your water has a high pH normally. Once it goes through your RO machine, your RODI machine, whatever you're using to filter the water, your pH is going to be most likely where it's at when it comes out of the tap. But once it sits in a container, a 5-gallon bucket for a little while, if it doesn't have any airflow, the pH is going to change. If it has air bubbles in it, it's going to go a different way and be a different measurement. And so with anything that is a 0 TDS, that pH is going to go wherever it wants. It's going to constantly be changing depending on how much oxygen is in the water. Like there's so many factors that go into it. So let me tell you this. For shrimp keeping, for what we're doing, know that pH means absolutely nothing when you're worrying about remineralizing. It means nothing. Now, the only thing that I will tell you about pH is, let's say your tank pH runs at 6.2 and the water that you remineralize is at 6.8. You don't want to just dump that water in. Your tank goes up to 6.5. A couple things get stressed out. Maybe they die. Then it goes back down to 6.2 over the next hour. You don't want that. And this is why I always say water changes, do them slow. Do them very, very slow. Because there's no reason to rush at all. There's no reason whatsoever to rush. And so that's the only time that you have to worry about pH is when adding it back into the tank. But if you do your water changes slow, then you don't have to worry about it. So for the purpose of our conversation, remineralizing, do not check pH. It's only going to throw you off. It's only going to cause more questions. Don't worry about it. Good morning, Aquarium Monster and Candy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah. Let's see. Water Wizard said, over here, a video like this should say advertisement in the corner. Hope you sell well, Robert. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's education. I mean, you don't have to use any of these products whatsoever. Honestly, at this point, we're still working on the GH and KH and the GH from Brightwell. They're still working on their mix, maybe fixing a few things because there's been some issues. So I wouldn't even recommend buying these at this time. I would recommend buying these two just because I've used them for so long. And yeah, so if you want to buy, great. If you don't want to buy, that's fine. The purpose of this is not to buy; it's to educate. And so that's what we're doing. And if you were here early in the stream, you'd see how much I was struggling just to get the stream going. So trust me, I'm not here as a sales pitch. You believe I just ran out of coffee? Let me see. Oh, this morning, I swear, this morning is getting rough. Like, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it's literally been a crazy few days. Like, staying up late, stress through the roof, like crazy things happening, new building project, tons of stuff going on. But again, we're not going to get sidetracked. We're going to get back into this stuff. So let's talk about neocaridina, the most common type of shrimp. That's what most everyone here has. I'm going to give you a recommendation. Before I tell you what you need to remineralize your water to, what you need to do, the best thing to do is talk to the breeder or talk to the person you're buying shrimp from. Ask them what their GH is. Ask them what their KH is. Ask them what remineralizer they're using. Get as much information as you can. And if you're buying from them, try to match that. Match what they're doing, because obviously what they're doing is working because they're selling you the shrimp. They're keeping the shrimp alive. Match what they're doing, and that's the best thing. If you're buying from Flip Aquatics, if you're getting shrimp from us, then this is exactly what you should do. And this should work for most neocaridinas. It should. But again, check with the person you're getting them from. That's always the best method. Neocaridina, cherry shrimp. The only exception is yellow neocaridina. Most of the time, those prefer a lower pH, different water parameters. So ignore this for yellow caridina or yellow neocaridina. So what do they call them? Yellow golden backs or whatever you want to call them. We don't sell them because they're too finicky. Anyway, cherry shrimp, fantasy blues, black rose, orange pumpkin, anything like that. Any neocaridina besides the yellows, you can do this. Salty shrimp, GH and KH plus. You want to have the KH in here because you want to keep a stable pH. And to have a stable pH, you have to have KH in your water. And this usually remineralizes at about 2 to 1 or 2 to 1.75. So for every 2 GH, you're going to get about 1 KH. And that's a perfect mixture. This has all the minerals that you need. You don't need to add mineral balls. You don't need to add I mean, you could add extra minerals to your water like trace elements and stuff like that, but you don't have to. This literally has everything you need in it. Sorry for shaking the desk. And so how do you use this to make the perfect water for your neocaridina shrimp tank? Again, distilled water, RO water, RODI water, remineralize with this. You're going to need your TDS pen here. So you are going to add this outside of the tank. Don't do it inside the tank, especially if you already have shrimp in there. Do it outside the tank in a 5-gallon bucket. You're going to open this up. You're going to get your bucket. You're going to test the water. Make sure the TDS is under 10, and then you're going to add a scoop in, half a scoop most likely, depending on what size the scoop is in here. I don't know because I get the big tubs. But whatever size the scoop is, probably add half a scoop. Mix it really good. If you have a power head, put a power head in there. Come back 10 minutes later. Test the TDS again. Whatever it is, you want it to read 200 TDS. 200. Anywhere between 180 and 225 is probably a pretty good range. We always aim for 200. As long as you're close to 200, you're going to be good. Probably a shy over 200 is better than a shy under. But if you're close, you're close. If you add this into distilled water, RO water with a TDS of under 10, and add it in until you have a TDS of 200 or roughly, you have the perfect water for neocaridina every time. Done. It's that easy. That's all it is to remineralize. So simple, so easy. Boom, you got it. That's why we remineralize. It just makes life so easy. There's no chance of pesticides, no chance of chemicals, no chance of copper sneaking in, nothing. Like, you're good. That's all it is. And so another way to check is you can get a GH and KH test kit. Now, for Neocaridina, you want to try to have, I believe, the GH. Let me check my website just to make sure, because it's been a little while since we've tested for GH and KH. Because honestly, we just do the TDS. Works every time. We never have issues. Let's pull it up just to make sure. Now, if you guys ever need information on how we keep our shrimp, we put all the information online on our website, flipaquatics.com. You can find every bit of information there. The GH, we aim for about 15 GH because we're on the top end of our scale. So 15 GH, that means the cage at half of what the GH would be, means it's about 7.5, 8, maybe 9. And so that's going to be your perfect parameters for keeping Neocaridina. Honestly, you can even go a little higher than that. So we have on ours a TDS of 180 to 400, which again, the perfect TDS is 200. Absolute perfect. That's what we keep it all in. And it's that easy. It's that simple. Now, that's for Neocaridina, excluding golden-back Neos. Before we move on to like crystal reds, tangerine tigers, Taiwan bees, everything like that, let me just ensure that no one has questions. Ollie Taylor said, oh, dude, we keep ours at 250 with exactly that product. It seems like there's a bracket, or maybe that's just our colony. Yeah, so Ollie keeps his at 250. Again, 200 is usually like the sweet spot. 250 is pretty darn good. And so it's just so easy. Like, if you guys just want to have like the easiest setup, boom, you got it. TDS pen, distilled water. Distilled water from the store, you can buy it in 1 gallon jugs. I mean, it's 50 cents. So if you're setting up a 5 gallon tank, you got 250 in water. Plus, I think this is $20, something like that. You got $20. You got another $20. You got $40. So you got, say, $45 for the perfect water that you're not going to have mistakes. You're going to spend more than that on cherry shrimp, and it's not worth killing them. So you kill one batch of cherry shrimp, boom, you could have paid for all this stuff. And so it's a huge recommendation on mine to do that. Moving on, I didn't see any questions. Jonathan actually asked a question. Rob, what about the people who maintain Neos and Caridinas? Is there necessarily one of them being neglected? So if you're keeping 2 types of shrimp in the same tank, I would always lean towards the parameters of the shrimp that you want to breed the most. So let's say you're keeping tangerine tigers with cherry shrimp. I would lean towards keeping the tank towards tangerine tigers, and then the cherry shrimp will adjust to it, or they won't. You can always meet in the middle, but I always try to pick one to get them to thrive, and the other one will adjust. Show Beka 1, can you do a video tutorial for a shrimp tank? Yes, we actually have that in the works. We got in these new rimless 4 gallons and then rimless 1.5 gallons, and we're going to do a setup with both of those. Again, it's a little bit of a promotion for the new tanks we got, just being honest. But at the same time, it's an education on, like, this is how you set up a tank. These are all the products we use in our warehouse. This is what we would do, and all that kind of stuff. So we will have that coming out shortly. Brian's Fish Tanks, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Brian. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, so you guys are awesome. Thank you for tuning in. We got more to cover. Next, we're going to get into crystals. So with crystals, I kind of group crystals and tigers all the same. These ones we're actually going to move towards GH+, and that's for crystals and tangerine tigers. Now, there are some tigers like the royal blues that we used to breed, super tigers, regular tigers. Like, there are some that still require the GH+ because they want a pH above 7. And you're using pool filter sand, all that. You want to have GH in the water just to keep the pH stable. And so we recommend still using this for certain kind of tigers. Again, it's always good to check with the person you're getting them from. But once you check with them, you will know whether to use GH and KH or just GH. If you're just using GH, here's the big thing. You have to use a substrate that is going to influence the pH. So here we use Brightwell Rio Oscuro, like that's what we use in this tank. Also the Rio Cafe. You can use 80A Amazonia. You can use Fluval Shrimp Stratum. I mean, there's tons of different options. But GH plus, you have to use a buffering substrate because there's no KH in the water. So there's nothing that will influence the pH. So if you don't have a buffering substrate, your pH is literally going to go like this. It can crash. And if it crashes, it kills everything in the tank. So you want to have things in there that are going to influence the pH and keep them stable. So with that, crystals, pure red line, pintos, tangerine tigers, the yellow golden backs. This is what you're going to use. You're even going to use this for Taiwan bees, but we'll get to Taiwan bees in a second. For all those that I just listed, again, crystals, pintos, pure line, neos, the yellow backs, the yellow type, all those ones, you're going to use this. You are going to remineralize your tank to about 150 TDS. Again, you're starting with RO water, distilled water, whatever it is, TDS of less than 7. TDS stands for total dissolved solids. Less than 10. I think I said 7. Less than 10. Use this. Get to a TDS of 150. Don't go over 150, I would recommend. Stay under 150, so like 130, 150, somewhere in there. Boom. You got the perfect water. I mean, it's that simple. Like, this is literally what we do. We're literally testing TDS of our water change water and pumping it in, and it's that easy. Now, for Taiwan bees, they like it a little bit softer, so we shoot for 100. So this is why we do it. It's so easy to remember. It's easy to train employees. Taiwan bees, 100 TDS. Tangerine tigers, crystals, 150 TDS. And then all of a sudden you get up to the neos. You switch back to this one, 200 TDS. So 100, 150, 200. Now, granted, there's some middle ground, like, you know, the neo caridina, you can actually take up to 250. You can go a little bit higher. For the crystals, you can probably go a little bit lower. You can go like 130. You could probably go a little bit higher, 160. The Taiwan bees, we usually try not to go under 100, but we could go 100 to 130. So all of a sudden now you have a middle ground of 130, and you could use that for crystals, tangerine tigers, Taiwan bees, a little bit of everything. So if you're keeping multiple buffered water shrimp together, go to the sweet spot, 125, 130, and you're most likely going to have success. And so it's that easy. Like, remineralizing tanks is not that hard. But again, going back to the painting analogy, you don't want to just start a painting on top of someone else's painting, like the water company. You don't want to just start your water on top of their water. You want to start with a blank canvas to make the perfect picture every time. And so I highly recommend these products, not because I sell them, but because I truly recommend them. Like 100% I recommend them. And so definitely consider it. But here is one thing that many people will mess up on. I've seen it happen time and time again. Topping off for evaporated water. Here's the thing about minerals. Minerals do not evaporate. They can be used up by plants. They can be used up by the things in the tank. They could be absorbed, but they're not going to evaporate. So if you remineralize your tank, we'll use neocaridina, for example. You remineralize your tank, that's a mouthful, to 200 TDS with salty shrimp, GH and KH+. You have evaporation. Let's say you have a 20-gallon tank, 5 gallons evaporates before you adjust it, which is a lot. You're going to have 25% more minerals dispersed amongst your tanks. So now all of a sudden, what your TDS would be like 150 or 250 instead of 200. So what most people will do is they'll remineralize more water and dump it in. Don't do that. What you want to do is use pure RO water, pure distilled water, pure RODI water with a TDS of less than 10. Dump that in. So now you're not adding more minerals. You're just adding pure water back in, and the mineral content is staying the same. But again, going back to the pH question, do you need to measure your pH of your RO water, your distilled water? No. Same thing with adding pure RO water back in. You don't want to rush it. Go slow. You just go slow. And the slower you go, the better. Like here. When I'm adding in water in my tank. Sometimes I'll just pump it in if the temperature is pretty close. And this is a huge tank. This is a 480 gallon. The other day the water was really cold and I didn't want to shock anything. So I literally dripped it in for 2 or 3 hours. And so just the big thing with shrimp, take your time. Be consistent, be patient, just slow it down. So with all that being said, what are your guys' questions when it comes to remineralizing? Let's go through some chat and see what everyone's saying. And again, if you guys want to talk to me while we're live, the easiest thing to do is do the @ symbol and then flip Aquatics with a space between flip and Aquatics, and then it will highlight red for me, and it's easier to see questions. CMPI82 said, have you ever tried Blue Wizard to remineralize? I've had good success with it because it mixes much faster. I personally have not tried it. Again, I've been using this stuff for the past 7 years. So I stick with what I know. Brightwell, if you guys didn't know this, Brightwell is a sponsor of our channel. I believe that having a USA-made product is going to be huge for the shrimp hobby. So I really support them. I'm really getting behind what they're doing because I want to see them be successful. Because we need a shrimp line in the United States that I can go and order tomorrow and it gets here next week, instead of waiting for 4 weeks or 5 weeks for a German order to come or a Taiwan order to come, something like that. So having a USA-based company is going to be great. This will be a great product once the kinks are worked out. Right now, it's not as potent as it should be, which we're working on that. The screw tops are not as good. They leak. If you shake them, they squirt all over. We're fixing it. Brightwell's on it. They know the issues. They're addressing the issues, and it will be fixed really soon. So once that's all good, I'm really excited to start using this product and convert our whole systems over to that. But yeah, there are tons of other options out there. It's just what works for you. If something works for you, keep doing it. No point in switching. Sunny Gem said, what minerals are in those salts? Can we make our own salt mix? So honestly, I would not try to make my own salt mix just because I don't want to mess anything up. Like, shrimp are expensive enough. I don't want to lose any. But as far as minerals in here, let's see. Of course, where it lists the minerals, it's in a different language. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. And I'm sure that they probably have a patent on the recipe. And so they might not even, I mean, they should list everything. I think they do. Like, if you could see, I think right here, that might be I don't know. That's a caution. What do I know? Megan Ness said, at Flip Aquatics, so I am confused when it says GH of 6 to 7. Is the water supposed to be super soft? Yeah, so soft water is actually like a GH of 4 or 3 or 6. 6 is still on the soft side. And so, yes, that is considered soft. Now, know that GH, so we always use GH and KH in the forms of like 1, 2, 3, 4, like a GH of 10 or a GH of 15. Now, if you're measuring in parts per million, I believe, I know it's not exact, but I always go with 1 degree of GH is 18 roughly of parts per million. So like 180 GH is the same as 10 GH, and so on and so forth. And so if you have more questions, feel free to leave comments. I will do my best to answer them all and get back to you guys. And Z-Tac said, RODI to 200 for Neos, no need to check for pH. Correct, you do not need to check for pH. Moving GH to 15 seams would raise pH very high. And so no, so you have to think like a high, like really hard water, it necessarily doesn't mean the GH or the pH is super high. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I'm here to tell you today that you do not need to worry about pH. You don't. Like, honestly, we have 200-ish tanks, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. We have 35 ponds. We have tens of thousands of shrimp. And I check pH 0 times. 0. Like, I never check pH. The only time that I check pH, the only time, and it doesn't happen very often, is if we're using a buffered substrate like Brightwell shrimp soil and we're having some random deaths in the tank, we check the pH to make sure the soil isn't going bad. So buffering soil will usually last about 2 to 3 years. And so around that like 1.5 year mark, we might start testing the pH just to see if it's losing its ability. And then as soon as it hits right around the 2-year mark, we just replace it no matter what. Like we don't want to take any risk. But that is the only time that we check pH. Other than that, it really doesn't matter it's at the end of the day, like pH it's just changing all the time anyway. It's probably more at night, less during the day. Like it's constantly like moving a little bit. The more KH you have, the more stable it's going to be. But yeah. Wildflower Emma said, I don't know if you saw my message a little earlier, but I asked if you remineralize the water different for fish. Do you keep the levels the same for fish and shrimp? Yes, so you can. So we've used Remineralizer, this stuff for fish in the past. It depends on what type of fish it is. Does it prefer softer water? If it prefers soft water, usually aim for like 100 TDS. If it prefers a little bit harder water, aim for 200. But we've kept like, say, neon tetras, for example, like they could survive in all of those. We've never had an issue keeping with neos. We've never had, well, besides eating the neos, but we've never had an issue putting neon tetras in a tank that we used for neocaridina at a 200 TDS. And so let's see. Yeah, so that's just, I hope that answers your question, Emma. But yeah, you can use this for fish along with shrimp, and it all works the same. And just look up, do your fish prefer soft water, hard water, and then remineralize accordingly. Most people that give information on how to keep fish, shrimp, snails, whatever, they'll recommend a GH and KH that they're using. Dragonamic said, can you write all these in a tutorial or step-by-step instructions? I'll buy it. Yeah, so I'm actually, at one point, I don't know when it's going to happen, I want to write like how to breed shrimp guide. But right now, I feel like the feedback that I would get is like, you don't even breed shrimp. Like you just import shrimp. Like this means nothing. There's no credibility. And so I don't want that to happen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the gallery set up, the new building, get some colonies really breeding. I mean, you can see like this tank's just going crazy. And then once I have like a solid, like, hey, I am breeding shrimp, because I bred shrimp in the past. Like it is what it is. Once I have all that set up, then I'm going to do a step-by-step. I just want to, I might do a free one just to tide people over, or do a tutorial video. Like instead of just a live stream, I'm more like detailed, like step 1, step 2, step 3, and stuff like that. So that's very, very possible. Okay, so more questions. LR Bretts makes his own remineralizer. He has videos about it, but personally, I would just buy pre-made from Flip Aquatics or another reputable vendor. So, yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways you can add GH to your tank. There's tons of ways that you can add KH to your tank, but there's not tons of ways that you can add all the other minerals that are in here that are essential for shrimp. Because honestly, I don't know what they are, and I'm sure a lot of us don't know what they are. I'm sure the people that make it know what they are, and that's about it. And I'm sure these people actually went to the environments where the shrimp are found, tested the water to see what's in it, and then replicated that. And so I'm going to trust years and years of science and research and development before I'm going to try to save $5 to put my own mix together. Like that's just me. Like I have a lot more shrimp on the line than maybe somebody just at home. And so maybe you guys have a different theory on it, but I always just try to do things the best that I possibly can. Ollie said, hi, Rob. Let's say I want to lower my KH and don't like the idea of bottles and chemicals. Are there any natural things I could use, like having a planted tank or introducing more plants or leaves and tannins? So, yeah, Ollie, that's a great question. I'm not a scientist. Like I'm just a hobbyist that just enjoys what I do. So I don't know. I know that you can get KH out of your tank. I know that there's substrates that buffer the tank that will actually take KH out. I know that plants will take KH out. I know that bacteria feeds on carbonate to like thrive. And so naturally your tank's going to use up KH. And so like KH is naturally going to be used up in your tank regardless. And so that number is just going to naturally drop over time. But yeah, there are ways that you could do it. I'm sure anytime you add tannins into your water that are supposed to decrease your pH, like those are using up your KH, or they're fighting against the KH to decrease the pH. So anything like that, in theory, I would think would take away from KH. But again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a marine biologist, nothing like that. I don't claim to be super intelligent when it comes to this stuff. I just know what I know. And so, so yeah, I would think there's plenty of ways to get rid of KH. Gregory Faubert, I love that name. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but Faubert is a good name. Gave a $2 super chat. He said, thanks for the great advice. Helped out a lot. You got it. Thank you guys. Really appreciate the support. Jack LaMountain dropping a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Jack. He said, I purchased 10 Bloody Marys from you 15 months ago and now have approximately 1,000. That's ridiculous. In 2 large aquariums. I've learned all I know from Rob. He knows what he's talking about, so listen up, people. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. And guys, all I can say is I'm a hobbyist. I love what I do. I enjoy what I do. I know what I know. I know what works for me. And if you do exactly what I do, I guarantee you'll have success. And if you don't have success, I will help you until you have success. Just who I am and what I believe in, and I want to see this hobby grow. And so with all that being said, I know we went a lot longer than I anticipated, but it's my fault. It's my fault. I had a little hiccup at the beginning. I was debating on editing that out, but I think I'm just going to leave it because it just shows that we're all human and things happen. And it will be it's gonna be tough watching that video back and seeing what it looked like, but I'm gonna do it. I don't know. Let me know if you guys want me to keep the unedited version up or re-edit the video and make it more like to the point. You guys just let me know, and I'll work on that after this. I did want to take a minute and say, explain a little bit about what channel membership is, what we're doing with the 2 different days. Like, if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, this is maybe the first time you've ever caught up with Coffee with Flip, episode 3 we're on, and you want to join and you want to be here every single week. In every opposite week, so week 1, so this is a good way to do it. The odd episodes will always be available to everyone. The even episodes will be for members only. So episode 2, 4, 6, 8 will be members only, and that's a way for members to really get in and have their voice heard, have a conversation, put their input, ask questions, determine what we're going to talk about the next week based on what we talked about that week. And there's going to be a lot of benefits to it. It's also a way for you to support what I'm doing. I said this a week before, or 2 weeks ago. The whole reason we're doing channel membership isn't so that you guys can give me money. Because at the end of the day, like, we have a successful business. We're doing big things. Now, money does help. It always helps. Money helps everything. Like, the more money you have, the more you can do. But we're not doing this for money. We're literally doing it because we want people to believe. We want them to believe in what we're doing. And I truly believe we can change the hobby. We can change the way things are run. We can change the way people look at live animals and how they're shipped and how they're kept in quarantine periods, all that stuff. We can change the way people look at shrimp. We can change everything. But it takes people believing. Like, a movement doesn't just happen by one person having a vision and just going and doing it by themselves. It takes one person getting 5 other people on board, and then 100 people on board, and then a whole movement happens where everyone's on board and we're all making the difference. And that's what we're asking for. So when you join channel membership, you are saying that, hey, we believe in what you're doing. We want to be a part of it, and we want to see where this thing goes. And so that's what we're asking for. Everyone that's a channel membership, I rely on their opinion greatly. Those are the people that want to go to the next level. They want to get to know me more on a personal level. And I'm going to show a little bit more of videos of, like, what's going on in my life, us going on a mission trip, Guatemala, tons of crazy things, like our chicken coop. Like, oh, there's so many things that I'm going to share through channel membership, because those are the people that really want to see it. The general public really doesn't want to see it that much. And well, maybe they do. I don't know. But channel membership, that's what it's all about. It's about people buying into what we're doing, believing in us, and wanting to see where we can go with this. So if you guys want to sign up for channel membership, I'll see you next week at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and we can talk about more things. hopefully I won't have another episode where I don't know what to say and I get all nervous and stuff like that. But I can't guarantee anything. You just never know. And so hopefully we'll have a good time. I did have to give Michael or Mike a big shout out. The Fish Tank Barn. Dropping a $5 super chat. He said, for the tip jar, this reminds me so much of saltwater. It is kind of like saltwater, the remineralizing. But Mike, thank you so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. And guys, if you're going to give a super chat, I would encourage you just to sign up for channel membership. I think Mike's already a part of channel membership, so it doesn't apply to him. But if you're gonna toss some money our way, I'd much rather you buy into what we're doing and just be a part of it instead of just super chatting. That's my opinion, because I really, really want to see this movement take course and really, really do some good things. So that's all I got for you guys. Tristan said, don't edit the video. Okay, I won't edit the video. It's going to be tough to rewatch it. Let's see what Diva said. Diva said, I need to put this on my calendar because I'm old. Yeah, I'm old too. I don't look, well, I look old. I guess I look older than I am. I don't really know. I got a beard. King's here. Twin City Guppies. Shout out. Twin Cities Guppies. Shout out to King Lee. Real good friend of mine. Really do appreciate his support too. Yeah, you guys missed a doozy if you missed the beginning of this one. Go back and rewatch it. The first time ever on a live stream, I got super nervous and forgot what I was gonna say and just had to take a minute and breathe. Unfortunately. But I share why that happened and the whole story behind it. So it's a cool story. And so whenever you're doing good things, things like that happen. Anyway, I won't bore you with more of the details. We've been on here for an hour now. I usually try to keep these at 30 minutes. In the future, we'll try to keep them to 30 minutes. But you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Candy, thank you so much. I've seen you posting so much stuff and links and everything. I really appreciate Candy Overhauls. I believe that's how you say it. Candy, thank you for all you do for the community. And I really do appreciate all of you tuning in on this fine Wednesday hump day. You guys make it an amazing week. So much love from me and the Flip Aquatics family. You guys are